Welcome to Paranormal Podcast. I'm Gigi, and today we have a special co-host. She goes by the name of Des. Well, she's my mini-me. We'll post some pictures afterwards, and you guys can be the judge of that. But today we wanted to talk about the Perrin Family, or you could call it the Conjuring house. We're going to just kind of get into some basics on that. I'm sure most of you guys have seen the movie. My one question always from researching or looking into it or hearing about this is whether it was the family or it was something in the house. Why are you looking at me like that for? You're just like, whoa. Well, yeah. That's what I'm saying. But again, the movie itself, it is based on
a true story.
True events. But however, how the movie is portrayed, it's more along the lines of like Ed and Lorraine Warren and based on their case files.
Yeah.
It's more about them than it is the actual Perrin family and how they do things. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's Hollywood, so a little more got added because that's how else you're going to make a movie. That's just how it goes, a movie or show. So we'll jump into just some of the basics for you. Did you want to talk about the movie, Des?
Yeah, sure. So, if you haven't seen it, here's a little bit about it. In 1971, Roger and Caroline Perrin moved into a farmhouse in Rhode Island with their 5 daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and April. Their dog, Sadie, refuses to enter the house, and one of the children, while playing a game of hide and clap, finds a boarded-up entrance to the cellar.
That was something I was going to say. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Later on, paranormal events occur within a few nights. All the clocks stop at exactly 3:07 a.m. Birds are flying into their windows, and the dog Sadie is later found dead in the backyard. Pretty much a bunch of stuff just happens.
Pretty much just a bunch of stuff.
A bunch of bad stuff just happens and gets worse and worse, and then the mom later on becomes
crazy.
The witch Bathsheba gets inside her and takes over her body.
Do you believe that happened?
I don't know because I wasn't there to see it.
Aw, see, you are my kid. So, okay, little history. It's an 18th century farmhouse. It was in Rhode Island. It was 14 bedrooms. The Perrin family consists of Roger, Carolyn, and their 5 daughters. Mm-hmm. Andrea, the oldest of the 5 daughters, says many elements of the truth to it and some moments of fiction, which I'm referring back to the movie. That's a quote from her in the usatoday.com. And like I said before, it's a movie. Some of it, that's any movie based on true events. The whole thing's not true. Mm-hmm. It's some of the main events that's what they base the movie around. You can take something small and base a movie around it. They lived there from January 1971 to 1980. So you were just talking about Bathsheba Thayer. They said that she was a witch spirit. I was quoted to say whoever was there, which they were told as Bathsheba, she was very angry. Whoever the spirit was, she was perceived herself to be the mistress of the house, and she resented the competition. My mother posed for that position. Not my mother. It was Andrea Perrin said that. So I could see that. However, going further into my research, that the name Bathsheba came up, and Lorraine Warren is the one that named that spirit that, mm-hmm. or said that that's who it was. Bathsheba Thayer was an actual person, what have you. Now, as far as her being a witch or angry,
she seemed like an ordinary person.
Yeah.
But I can't find anything about her being like a witch or anything.
Right, when everybody was getting...
Yeah, it's saying, like, there's no hard evidence to support that Bathsheba was really a witch. It's only, like, a legend or a local folk
Right,
tale.
And they said something about her killing a child, too.
Yeah,
And throughout the research, and there was no evidence of that either.
It says, having lived on a neighboring farm in the 1800s, suspicion grew when an infant mysteriously died in her care. When the baby was examined, it was determined that the mortal wound was caused by a large sewing needle and had been impaled in the base of the child's skull. So that's pretty much. Then it says, though, the townspeople believe that Bathsheba sacrificed the infant as an offering to the devil. Due to insignificant evidence, a court found that was innocent by any wrongdoing.
Yeah. So, was there, I'm not saying that it's irrelevant by any means, or not irrelevant, but there wasn't something mischievous there. But to just go out and say that that's who it was or the spirit of that person, that's kind of damning to the family. So I don't know. I think that's a little disrespectful unless she knew for absolute certain that that's what it was or who it was. But again, they say when you cross over, you take over some of your us as earthlings. Yeah. That you take over the same persona that you put off. Like, if you're a mean person, you're going to be mean, and so on.
Yeah, it says here the older daughter of the Perrin family, Andrea, when in her book, she said, she describes her mother, Caroline, talking to a man who she refers to as Mr. McChurchin or something. Supposedly a bit of a local historian, he told Caroline that Bathsheba treated the help badly and that she starved and beat her Sherman farm staff.
See, yeah, there's stories that go back and forth if it's one way or another. I don't know, but it's a great story, all in all. Now, they go on record as saying like 5:15, most mornings, when everything started, when they moved in 1971, that the beds would levitate, that their beds would go up in the air. Like, that's pretty scary.
In the movie, it was saying at like 3:07 a.m. birds were flying into their windows, but that's the movie. That's not like
right.
The real thing.
And then the cellar in the house was known to be the hot spot, and Roger Perrin would only go in there if he had to work on the furnace. Yeah. So I don't know. Anybody could say that nobody wants to go down in a dingy cellar. That's just scary all by itself anyway.
Have you ever seen a scary movie before?
Exactly. So Andrea claims she secretly watched the seance happen when they had Ed and Lorraine in there. She's on record to say that made her mother, Caroline, possessed for a short time. Andrea says, "I thought I was going to pass out. My mother began to speak a language not of this world, and a voice not of her own. Her chair levitated, and she was thrown across the room." Now, none of the kids were clearly supposed to see any of that. What do you think of that, Des?
That's crazy.
That would be very, very scary. But I don't know if I was going to let somebody come in and do a seance. I wouldn't have you guys here just because of, like...
anything could happen.
Yeah, well, now you're old enough to know and probably be intrigued by it. But yeah. And then before they bought the house, and then when they first moved in, the neighbors told parents to leave their lights on after dark. The house has a history. It's got a violent history. Or previous tenants, suicides, rape, murder, drownings, like...
It's a bunch of bad things.
Yeah, so like when the beds levitated at 5:15, they'd also get the smell of rotting flesh.
Yeah. So
that's interesting, I think. I've heard of the smells, but never... Usually it's something other than rotting flesh. But anyway, so like when the girls were smaller and when they first moved in, the spirits that were there, they would play with them. They were their playmates of the house.
In the movie, I forgot her name, but she was in her bed and her other sister, they were sharing a room, and then something was tugging on her leg, and she was freaking out, and she was like, she thought it was her sister, and it wasn't. And then she's like, look, then she's seen something behind the door, and she's like, I see something, and then she starts screaming, and she sees something, and then the door just goes crazy, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? And then a voice told Cindy, which is the youngest, I do believe. Andrea's the oldest, but a voice told Cindy that there were 7 bodies in the wall, and then she told Andrea. I don't think they found 7 bodies in the wall, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. So, and actually... in real life, a friend by the name of Barbara contacted the Warrens. It was not Caroline.
Oh, wow.
Yep. In the movie, it shows it was Carolyn, but it was not. She was in the same town at the time that Ed and Lorraine were in a certain town. I had it written down. I can't remember it right now, but she, went and saw them, and then Ed and Lorraine decided that they were going to take on the case. So the parents... In historycollection.com, it says the parents claim that the Warrens actually made things worse. Okay, so the parents claim that the Warrens actually made things worse from what you see in the movie.
In the movie, they kind of did the same thing when they arrived. Everything, because they're a threat,
right?
And Lorraine Warren, she can sense a lot of things. She's a medium, and she can see things too, or like feel.
Yes.
But
we all know this.
Ed, so yeah, it's kind of.
He was the painter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But perceived it in the movie as they fixed everything, right?
Yeah, they're the heroes.
Yeah, but in real life, they stirred it up.
Yeah,
they weren't going to do an exorcism of the house or anything because they weren't a priest.
Yeah.
They needed to have a priest there to do it. But then in real life, they did the seance thing, and that's where Andrea saw her mom in the...
I found something else. I said Roger Perrin apparently kicked the Warrens out, concerned for his wife's mental stability. According to Andrea, the family could not afford to move out of the house until almost 10 years later.
Yeah.
While most of the hauntings continued.
Yeah, that was a big question, of course. You ask that with anybody that has hauntings in their house or whatever. Why don't you just move? Well, it's really not that easy.
Yeah, you can't.
You just can't, pick up and move. You got to save. And they were a big family, a family of 7.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't just going to pick up everything and go.
It's not that easy to find a house that'll fit your big family.
Exactly.
Especially back then.
It's scary, yes. I probably would have pitched a tent in the backyard.
I would have left the country.
But all the girls left as soon as they were able to.
Yeah,
when they were legal age and stuff like that they had left. Now, you were talking about the hide and clap earlier, and the story that I got is one of the real stories versus in the movie. Cindy, while playing hide and seek, found a wooden box to climb into. After realizing no one was going to seek her, she tried to get out, but couldn't. There was no latch or locker. It was just, you pick
stuck.
up or not. Yeah. And she was trying to get out, and she's screaming and screaming, and Nancy finally came and let her out, which is crazy.
And that also says here, Ed Warren never performed any sort of exorcism.
Right.
Considering they have to be done by Catholic priests. But it says, though the Warrens had worked with priests in the past, this time they opt to summon the spirit with a seance.
Yeah.
That's made it worse.
Yes.
They thought they were going to get rid of it. It just made it worse.
Yeah, they did. If all this is true, then they took it wrong.
That said, during the seance, Andrea says she secretly watched the actual Conjuring. I thought I was going to pass out. She says, my mother began to speak a language.
You said the actual Conjuring? I have already said what you're just about to say.
Oh, that's neat.
It's a seance.
Well, it says this is what Andrea actually said. She said, my mother began to speak a language not of this world and a voice not her own. Oh, you already said that?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, whoops, sorry. I was not listening.
That is funny. Yes. Another thing, too, with the Conjuring movies, if you don't know, like Andrea said, it's a combination of Ed and Lorraine's cases. So, like Annabelle, she has nothing to do with the house. She was in the cases of... Yeah. It was a movie made of all their cases, and then they linked them for the movie for Hollywood purposes, because otherwise they'd probably be like a half hour long, like a show. Each case they went through. What else you got?
Really a long story.
It's really not, because most of it everybody knows. We already did an episode on Ed and Lorraine. I don't think we touched the Conjuring house, but
their museum that they have in their house, they had a daughter, and I heard
Annabelle.
Yeah, stuff happened to her because of the doll. They're in the movie. I don't know if it's probably true, but in the movie, it had her grandma sitting in the chair with the doll, and her grandma was talking gibberish, and she was just grandma, but the doll turned around, and I don't know, but I know that their daughter went through a lot of stuff because she never really got to see her parents because they were always
gone doing their thing, kind of like when I go out and investigate and stuff.
But you didn't have a creepy museum and stuff would come and get you.
I did not. I do not really want anything creepy. I do have lots of sage. I'm more of the protection type, where I have my obsidian, my onyx. Even I'm not a full believer, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. And I like black jewelry anyway, so all my protection stones look great. And then having all the different sage and stuff. But yeah, I do not have a museum.
Yeah.
Now, have you had anything? Now, in Iowa, actually, when you spent time there, your dad had lots of stories of a house down there. Do you know any of those stories?
Oh, what?
So I know it was a house that he bought, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we lived in this town, Boone, Iowa.
He has, I'm sorry. He has a picture, doesn't he, of a mirror, and then there's something in that mirror. I don't know if my dad probably does. 15 years ago that I seen this picture.
I never knew that existed. I'll ask him about it, see if he has anything.
Yeah.
Because he's got totes and totes of pictures. But me and my dad, I was really young. I was like in like I don't know, like 12, and we just moved to Boone. It was me, his ex-girlfriend now, and her daughter, and it's her daughter. Okay. Well, one time, Nicole and me were giving Amara a bath, and Amara was like 3. And when I first got there, I always felt creepy things. I always felt like someone was watching me. I was home alone a lot because they were at work and she was at school, so I always felt like someone was watching me. And it was a house from like the 1900s, and it was actually used for slavery back then. And so like we found a bunch of we found this closet, and you go in and you tear down this wall, and there's just this big opening, and it was just used for slavery, I guess. And Nicole said she found a bunch of needles and stuff in the carpet, and that carpet's so filthy and old, and she just found a bunch of sharp things in there. And
was that the only house that when you stayed there? What about your grandparents' house when they lived in
back to the one thing, Amara, when we were giving her a bath, she said she always saw men in her closet and men were talking to her. And I
remember you telling me about that.
So me and Nicole looked at each other, we were like, what the? And we didn't know what to do. So we were up all night. We were like, oh my God.
What was I going to say?
It was in Latimer.
Yeah, Latimer,
Iowa. My grandparents lived there for a long time, like 10 years or something like that. And Kathy, when we were younger, it never came to me. I was too young. I was playing in dirt, so it didn't bother me, you know. I never knew about ghosts or anything. But Kathy told me, like, when I was in Michigan with you, she'd call me crying, saying how she saw somebody sitting in a chair with a newspaper. There was this one time my grandparents, they were picking tomatoes. She said they were picking tomatoes from the garden, and she came up to the house, and she was freaking out because she thought it was my dad sitting in the chair because it looked like my dad was dressed up. And she said she seen a man holding a newspaper in khakis and a white t-shirt with boots on, which that's what my dad always wore. Yeah. And but he had no face, and she said like he put the newspaper down and he had no face. And before that even happened, she said that the TV was on, but it was on a kids show, Little Einsteins. Yep. But she came back in, and it was like this murder show, and it was all killing people, and so she doesn't like talking about that. But at the house they live at now, she said there's actually a lot of stuff, and Grandma said there's actually quite a bit of stuff at their house that they live at now, and their property.
I'd like to get up there and see them. Now, that house that they lived in Latimer, I didn't see that very much. I was around a lot more and lived in the house that they had
passed away in Radcliffe too, so it kind of made everything.
Oh, yes, Radcliffe?
No.
Latimer?
Yeah.
So I remember the Radcliffe house. Latimer, for some reason, I went, I was about 2 or 3 times. Yeah. I went there, but I don't want to say that I felt something, but something always felt a little off there or whatever.
When I was little, I never really thought of it, but now looking back on it and looking at pictures, some pictures you can see, like, me and Kathy, we see, like, we're like, oh, look at this, oh, look at that. It's just kind of like, whoa, what's that? Because we opened our minds up to it and stuff, so we're now, like, believers of that stuff. And
my little crazies.
Yeah,
I love it. Anything else? Any other crazy stories? How about any place that we lived together? You think there was ever anything in that house in Allegan?
Ethan, my brother, my brother, when he was like 5, he'd always said I hear something or I see somebody, and I'm like, oh my God, don't say that.
Yeah, I remember that.
I hated that house because it was just always so dark, and
it was the basement. Really... I hated going in the basement. That's where the washer and dryer was, and there was a beautiful fireplace down there. You remember that? But it needed to be cleaned up, but it was just looked so beautiful. But that was not a place that you'd put a fireplace, so that was just very, very odd because it was almost like a Michigan basement.
The upstairs and everything was really, really nice, but you go downstairs, it's just concrete everywhere. It's like,
half of it was dirt. Yeah, and that's what I didn't understand, why they had a full-on beautiful
big door. Yes, remember that? And the creepy stairs, and oh my God! But I remember you were at work. I was in 6th grade. Me and my old friend, Autumn, we were staying there. She was staying the weekend or something, and we went downstairs to get our laundry. And I, jumped to her. I clung to her because we were freaking out because I said I seen something, run past, and I was like, oh my god, dude, we gotta get out of here, forget the laundry, let's go. And she's like, what are you talking about? And then she seen it behind me, and she's like, dude, let's go. So she pushed me out of the way, we almost fell down the stairs. It was just, then yeah, we just never talked about it ever again because it just creeped us out too much.
Yeah, that was a little creepy house. I love the house, really.
Yeah, it's just some stuff. It wasn't like on like continuously, like
right,
stuff
it was
wasn't
random.
happening continuously. It's like on and off, but like rarely.
Right. No, I do remember your brother saying stuff when we lived there.
And like there's that attic and stuff, but you couldn't get up there.
Right. All the good old times.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, what was I gonna say?
I do, like, because I used to never believe it, just never crossed my mind. Because at the house in Boone, I never really felt anything, or I never really seen anything, but I felt stuff. But when I went with you and one of your investigations you did,
at the shop?
No. Well, yeah, that my first occurrence, but then seeing actual, like, I don't even know. It's just overwhelming.
The
like,
pictures and the EVPs and stuff?
Yeah, I was just like, wow, I believe in, like, hearing toys go off when there's no kids around. And it's just like, what? Am I in a scary movie right now? And it's just kind of like, dude.
Now, back to the Perrin family and the Conjuring movie. Do you think it was the house or do you think it was the family?
I think it was.
Now, because in some things that you'll read or look into, nobody else has had anything, like, really off the wall, like, okay, the opening or shutting of doors can usually be something else.
Yeah.
Like our doors open and close here, like when the furnace comes on.
Right. It's
or like, a creaking of whatever.
Just the furnace or
exactly.
Or dryer or something.
Exactly. Now, but then, okay, let's say those other families did have things, but it wasn't as intense as the Perrin family. Do you think that it was the family? Something was attached to them? See, that's what...
I mean, it could, like, something followed them there? Or just...
Yeah, or
like,
they woke up something, maybe that lived there, and then it attached them to itself to them.
Is there any evidence, like, from families before them moving in that had occurrences, or is there nothing really?
Before that, it was all that crazy stuff that happened in that house. Remember, like... Oh,
so I believe, like, all of it's all of it is attached to, like... Somehow.
But something in that family stirred it up.
And they have all girls, too, so they don't have any boys. All there is the dad. Nothing really attached to the dad. It mostly attached to, like, the mom and the daughters. Right, it was
and then females.
Then the dog and stuff like that, you know.
Right.
I never really...
I don't know. I think it had something to do with the family, whether maybe they brought something in with it that it didn't like.
Yeah.
And that's what stirred it up, and it was just fine living there.
Like, maybe
or being
it could
there
be the dad. Like, they didn't like...
Other. Could be.
The dad... So, like, they decided to take on, like, be part of their...
Well, no, that's a good idea, because not idea, but
like
good thought that
like,
you have.
Not revenge, but, like, make the dad
well,
feel
it made itself known to the girls.
Yeah.
Of the family, you know, the
they
mom and the 5
themselves
girls.
To the girls, and then the dad is like, you know.
Y'all are nuts. Huh. I'm gonna be honest right now, I've never seen any of the movies.
You need to.
I'm not...
I've seen 1 and 2. I don't know if the other Conjurings are real. I think there's like 2 or 3, but this one, I mean,
I'll get around to watching them. I do have a thing, especially since starting the podcast and doing the investigations. I kind of stay away from watching the movies, whether they're based on true stories or true events, like, or whatever, because things do get added and stuff like that. That way, I'm left out of that. I don't have that sitting in my memory or in my brain. Oh my God, I need this to happen, or, you know, something crazy.
I know, like, all the movies that they did, like Annabelle, Creation, The Nun, and stuff like that, and all the Conjuring movies, like, somehow they're all connected, I guess.
Well, I've already said that, too.
Oh,
they're all cases of Ed and Lorraine.
I didn't know if, like, how The Nun was real, because I seen the movie in the theater, but I didn't really thought it was, like, real or anything. Yeah. In the dark. Huh. Creepy. Popcorn was everywhere.
Look into that. It wasn't that long. A few years back, maybe not even a few years, but they had to close down their museum.
Yeah.
I think their nephew runs it now, if I remember correctly.
I think
it's a nephew.
I'm not sure.
I'd have to listen back to the podcast that we did on them.
I know they both passed away, so I don't know if where their daughter is now or anything. Yeah. Again, like I referred to them in the Ed and Lorraine episode, you know, the
paranormal mom and dad type of thing, but I think that we have also came a long way since they started and did their thing, which is good because we wouldn't be where we are if they wouldn't have shined light on a lot of things. But I also think a lot of things could be, like, if we were to go back and know everything that we know now, or have the equipment and the knowledge of certain things now and go back and redo some of their cases, we might be able to find some easy answers to them.
Right.
But it is a lot. It's more fun to put that scary twist on it, that's for sure, and especially for Hollywood. Yeah. I'm not knocking any of that. That's just not a way that I want to go with anything.
I think the most scariest movie out of all of them, The Nun wasn't really scary because in the movie they added too much computer it looked fake.
Yeah.
But I think the most scariest was Annabelle because the fact it was real. They had a lot of.
It's a freaking doll. Anything with a freaking doll.
A lot of jump scares, and they made her look really creepier than the actual doll because the actual doll is just.
It's a Raggedy Ann doll.
Raggedy Ann doll. So you never really think about it.
I do now.
Yeah.
I go into a lot of, I want to say thrift stores, but antique shops, and they have, the original Raggedy Ann dolls and stuff, and it's and I don't ever pick it up and buy it because of the freaking Annabelle.
We had the boy Raggedy Ann doll and then the girl one.
Andy.
Whoops. Yep. Yeah, I don't know what they're called, but yeah, we had that, and then we had coloring books and stuff like that. So now thinking about it, I'm like, oh my god, I had one of those.
Yeah, it is scary. Do you have any questions?
Not really.
Really? You have no questions?
I heard that family, man. What'd they ever do to you?
That's what I'm saying. I think maybe, not that they would ever go back, but we can't.
People.
Right, well, we can't go back in time and redo it knowing what we know now, but it would be nice to be able to do that and do it correctly.
Time machine.
See, I don't know why. My question for the Warrens would be, why didn't you call in a priest to do an actual exorcism when it was that bad?
In the movie, they actually were trying to, but he couldn't or something, or he bailed on him or something. I forgot what happened, but they tried, or he didn't want to go into that certain house. Yeah.
See, yeah.
I don't know.
See, I would have kept trying because they needed to get better answers than what they got for him because they just pissed it off, whatever it was. So no questions?
No, not really.
Not that I know much about all this, but I do think it was neat to just try to touch base because the Conjuring house right now is kind of a hot item for paranormal investigating crews because it is now reopened where you can rent it out and go investigate it. Mm-hmm. And when I go out east, I do not want to go there. I do not want to investigate it. I think that it has been overdone, redone, and
I just don't want nothing to follow me back home. Stay right there.
I think the house is beautiful because of the history.
Yeah.
I like any old thing, and it's a great story. However, I'm not one to go into a place where a lot of people. I'll go. Mm-hmm. We got some things lined up this year for the crew that
I wouldn't go inside.
Will be fun to do just because other people have been there. But that one, like I said, it's been overdone and redone for me. It's all drilled in my head. I like to go to places where
I'd go to
I don't know if something's going to happen. People would get it in their head okay, this is what's happened to other crews. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen to me. And then it doesn't really happen, but you think it does.
I'd go to maybe an asylum or one abandoned building or something, but I wouldn't go into stuff where there's been murders and stuff like that. I'd go into
I wouldn't by myself, but
something. Yeah.
I want to say so much, but I can't.
Events, I wouldn't want to go to that house has too many bad things.
Well, an asylum's not going to have very happy spirits if they're still there. Not every place you go to is going to have spirits either. Some spirits have crossed over. They've moved on. They've been reincarnated, whatever you believe in. Not all spirits are just here hanging out haunting people.
Yeah.
If they really do. Mm-hmm. I'm the skeptic believer. I don't know. I have questions, so I think it'd be awesome. Yeah. But at the same time,
I believe totally, because after having my stuff that happened to me for the first time, I just don't know. It's just stuck in your head. I'm never gonna forget what happened to me,
right?
Because it's just there. So I believe totally about all that other stuff and past lives and stuff like that.
The past life
and
things
people being trapped
is neat,
or spirits being trapped and can't, or lost,
being earthbound.
Yeah, they're stuck. They don't know how to get out.
Yeah.
I just don't know how people can, like, I know there's certain people, I don't know if mediums can, but, like, they get them into the light or something, you know, or pass them through.
Well, some people claim that they can do that. Some don't. However, I think if you are going to be one that's able to do that, you have to have a lot of energy that you're putting out.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot of energy to do anything
like,
of that.
If I knew how to do that, I'd feel drained to my
yeah.
Just even thinking about it.
Yeah, even if you didn't believe, that would be the ideal thing. Like, okay, yep, that would drain the shit out of you. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just...
Even just by walking into the house you investigated where I first felt, or, like, the shop, I just did not want to be there. I felt really drained, and... Yeah, I just got outside a few times because I just couldn't take it anymore. I had to leave. Oh,
my little sweetie pie. And there's me. Again. I'm like, oh, yay, somebody give me a flashlight.
I'm like, no, let me go home, sleep. And
I play oblivious to a lot of it. I have to because of what I do.
I close my eyes. That's all I do.
I try not to be scared because I'm a huge scaredy cat. That's one of the reasons why I don't watch the horror scare movies. Especially the ones based on true events.
Definitely pushed your limits, but it's a good thing. Like you overcame your
it's
boundaries
interesting.
And stuff. Yeah,
and it's a never-ending thing. It's such a great area.
I'm scared
anything
of the dark,
paranormal.
so I don't like going out with you all the time because I get scared. I don't want something to grab me and snatch me and never get to see my mom again. So
sits in the car when we stop at cool cemeteries, but you'll get out in the daytime.
Oh yeah,
cemeteries are very pretty. But any other questions or concerns or comments?
Just why?
Why? So, how do you like the podcast so far since it's coming up on a year?
It. At first, I was like, oh, Mom, what are you doing? Don't do this. It's a big mistake. Waste of money. But now, I see how, like, into this you are, and it's making you really happy. And I think you enjoy it a lot. And, like, you're not... like doing random things like doing like 31 or sewing in the last 2 weeks, but now this has been going on for a year and you actually stuck with it and you really enjoy it and you like going out and seeing all these cool things, you know, and meeting people, especially famous people, ghost adventure guys, you know, it's awesome.
It is awesome. It's brought a lot of amazing people into my life.
You like met new friends and like made new connections and especially best friends. Yeah,
my new internet BFF. Yeah, she's pretty great. Courtney. Yeah, Themes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
she's pretty awesome.
She is awesome. And all the crews that we've got to meet. You met Amanda and Scott from Scar Encounters.
Mm-hmm. That was pretty
and their
awesome.
Little girl.
Yeah.
They're super sweet. I love them. And hopefully coming up this next year, we'll be at a lot of events that we've said many times, which we'll keep going through them until we hit them. But I hope to see a lot of the crews that I've interviewed or have talked to, which is super great. And the crew like from Wisconsin and whatnot. Oh my God, I got such huge news, Mama Mary and I, but we can't announce it yet. All I can say is, like, this is the biggest news or announcement that we will probably ever have in the history of the podcast. And if you have listened to the whole podcast, you know a place that is certainly very, very important to the both of us. Some place that we have a passion about in history. So keep that in mind, and then hopefully within the next couple of weeks we can make that announcement because it is coming up and it will be the special for our 1 year anniversary. So we've decided that will be, and it's going to be huge. And with that, we will record our episode out there, but we'll also do a live while we are at this location. It's a secret location right now. I almost spilled the beans. Did you see how big my eyes got?
Yeah, you're like, oh.
Oh no.
Like you saw a ghost.
Oh shit. It's just going to be super amazing, and to have this opportunity, and the only reason we got this opportunity is because we have worked so hard on this podcast. What do you want to say? She's all raising her hand.
I have a question for you though. Like, yes. What made you like get into not podcasting, but like wanna get like,
the ghost hunting?
Yeah, or like
the ghost hunting part of it, because it's this whole thing since doing the podcast,
like
it's open to everything.
Stuff. Like,
well, I've always been interested in it. I had a ton of things happen, experiences when I was young and growing up, and that I've let go. And of course, well, you know your grandparents, it was more of a let's just not fucking talk about it. And,
they don't want to
brush it under the rug. So it was one of those things when I met Mary, Mama Mary to me, Grandma Mary to you. She relit that for me. It's always been something that I've been into, and I always loved watching Ghost Adventures.
She's so awesome.
Ghost Hunters, all those things. One of my favorite shows growing up was Unsolved Mysteries. You don't know that show, but
Grandma Karen, she'd always put on I think it was The Haunted or something, Hauntings or something.
Oh, okay.
Me and Kathy, we'd watch that every morning with her, and she'd always have to give us like Play-Doh or like a stress ball so we wouldn't get scared.
I love Grandma Karen. So yeah, and then once I met Mama Mary, and the first time I actually met her, Grandpa had her give me a reading. And I was like, okay. And then Aunt Dawn's always been into it too. Yeah. And really? Anytime that I've ever gotten a reading and stuff, it was always with her. Yeah. And she carries her crystals and stuff. She just don't talk about it. Is all. She believes in all that stuff.
Oh, really? I never thought of her to be
spiritual. So starting the podcast, that's why we did it, because I always had questions for Mary, and I'd go over there on Fridays anyway when I didn't work and you and Ethan were at school. So that's when I'm like, shit, let's just start a podcast and I'll ask you questions and we'll get on topics and we'll learn and try to inform other people too that have questions.
Turned it into a big now. At first I didn't think it was going to be this big, but it's just you put so much time into it, and that's what makes it really like go,
Well, thank you, honey. Yeah. I appreciate that. I do work hard on it, and I try to involve you and your brother. Yeah. He loves to go on the investigations. However, I do not take him very often because he's young, and I'm still learning. But I do. Scared. He asks questions and stuff, which I absolutely love. And now that you're of age, not that really matters, but if you were to get hurt when we're at a location or something, blah, 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 all that other stuff, but the unfun stuff. Yeah. Now you can come with us if you want. And, I don't know. Everything just kind of took off after we got the microphones and we started recording.
Computers
we got asked to do investigations, and it was requested that we put together a crew, and that's how the crew came along. Why I jumped both feet in to the investigating thing.
There's just so many places you could go to, and it just kind of escalates, and because more people want you to go, visit their scary place, and it just kind of goes on.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, you got to go to Allegan though. They got some creepy places there.
They do. Well, a lot of towns do. Yeah. They got their historic places. Just because it's historic does not necessarily mean that there's something there. Yeah. I would love to go to a lot of these places just because of the history. Yeah. It's been there for 300 years. Well, fuck yeah, I want to go see it. I bet it is absolutely beautiful. That's why I want to go out east, because the history, no place has that much history in America besides out east. They got the most, Yeah. As far as American history, I guess. Okay, so with all that being said, sorry if we bored you guys. I would like to have Destiny on some more times if she would like to be sometime.
So if you guys stop saying all the time.
So if you guys would like to hear more from Destiny, she can record with me and Mama Mary as well.
I'm pretty boring.
You're not boring. So if you have any fun topics or what have you that you would like to hear, because I said she just turned 18. We just had her birthday this past weekend. That's why this is coming out late. I apologize for that. She's my princess, and she's graduating and everything this year. So it's kind of a big year for just the family itself. And then with Mama Mary and I, and our thing on the side is just taking off, where it's going to end up being a main thing in our life. And that's why we were doing it, so we could spend more time with our families. But with that being said, with the topics, I have a listener email here from Becky Jackson. Hi, Becky. She says, show idea, Fort Castello de San Marcos in St. Augustine, Florida is a great location. This city is rich with history, folklore, and unexplained happenings. I even have a few stories from there myself. There is also a lighthouse there that has an interesting story. Hope this helps, and I'll share my stories shortly when I have a little more time to type it up for y'all. Much love, Becky from Florida. So thank you so much for that, Becky. That will probably be our topic for next week, actually. We're trying to, like I said, in a couple weeks, we have a huge announcement. We got some other things going on at the same time. So, like, we're trying to keep everything in line, and we both still have, like, our normal 40-plus hour a week jobs and all this jazz. So that will probably be our topic for next week, and email those stories into me so we can have them and we can go off those and whatnot. If you have any questions about your stories that you'd like to ask Mary or whatever, let us know, Becky. That's great. Thank you so much. So anybody can write into us, paranormalxl@writeme.com. Also check out the Patreon page to see what you can get extra from us. There's a little bit here and there. Mama talked about maybe adding readings once a month, readings from her in some of the tiers. So if you go in there, let us know if you get on there, and then I'm sure I'll link you up with her. You guys can work out the readings thing or whatever. Also, oh yeah, I already said that, the announcement for the huge special, which is going to be our 1 year special. So, oh my gosh, I can't even give you guys a date right now. I can't even say anymore, besides we're going to have a huge really announcement. Awesome. It'll probably not be the next show, but the show after, we can announce our big thing that's happening for us, and it's been absolutely amazing, and it's because of all of you. Otherwise, this never would have happened. I never would have kept going. It's just so great what we're going to be a part of. Like, I can't even explain it to you guys. When I do get to announce it, I'm probably going to cry, because sometimes I get emotional, and it's just really freaking awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
Like, it's a one-in-a-lifetime
opportunity.
Oh, for sure.
It's a dream come true, man.
Well, Destiny knows that it is for me. That's for sure. It isn't for everybody, but as far as a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity, it is. It is for anybody.
Awesome,
and we got an opportunity that really nobody else is going to get.
My birthday money, I'm about to buy my own freaking plane ticket to go there. Oh, crap.
Well, you said plane ticket. That's okay.
Didn't say the place. It's all right.
So, okay, guys, with all that being said, remember, email us at paranormalxl@writeme.com. Also, visit the Patreon page, please. Even if it's just to look at what the different tiers go. I always feel bad when it comes to that. I talk about it. I think it's a great thing because it helps us out with keeping up with the electronics and stuff like that. But the pricing is very, like, super cheap. Like, it starts at, like, $1 a month and you get, like, some cool shit. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, and then so on and so forth. I think the top tier is like $20, but that's like a business tier where, like, you get everything that all the other tiers get, plus you get like a 30-second commercial in each of the episodes. So, which I need to start putting in, or have putting in. So, okay. Love you guys. Thank you so much. And remember, don't yuck someone else's yum.
Bye.
No, ever.
Ever.
She's so cute.